Hey fans, Fraser Rogers here with Director of Scouting Adam Sergerie. Post-draft day as the Penticton Vees partaked in their inaugural WHL Draft day over the last 2 days. The U.S. Priority Draft this morning and then day 2 of the WHL Prospects Draft wrapping up as well here on this Thursday. Adam, let's start with the U.S. Priority Draft. 2 selections there. We'll start with Carter Morris from Shattuck St. Mary's. Looks like a prolific goal scorer. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, Carter hails from Alaska. He goes to Shattuck St. Mary's. Obviously, we all know the school and the talent that that they've been able to recruit in years past. So, for us to get a chance at Carter at pick 4, we were really excited about. There's some connections, between Fred and the dad Keith, and ties back to Manitoba. What a great player he is. I think fans would be really excited about him. We've watched a lot of him, and we believe that he has the ability to be high end. And if he develops the way we think he is, that he could. Keep in mind we're always drafting 14-year-olds, and so much can happen over the next little while. But we believe he's on the right trajectory, and he's going to be a really good player for us.
On the back end, feeling a need there too with Parker Duraney from the Minnesota Blue Ox. Looks like a guy that's a competitor, well-balanced defenseman. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, Parker's strong two-way game, really good puck skills, transitions pucks really well, really good on retrievals and breaking pucks out. Really good, inside the offensive blue line. He moves well off puck and as a good shot. I think he can do a lot of really good things, on the back end for us. Late birthday kid again, sticking to the theme that we had with Thor. We feel like, 3 years with him, before his NHL draft can go a long ways. It buys us time. He still plays development, so we feel like, when it comes time for him to pop, he's going to be a really good player in the league. And, we were really surprised to see him in the second round. So when he was sitting there, we were really excited.
So there's your 2 U.S. Priority Draft selections for the Vees this morning. And then you get into day 2 of the WHL Prospects Draft, Adam. Yesterday, Thor Lifton on the back end, and you continue today in day 2 with 15 more picks. Maybe just, a general observation, how you describe your first ever draft class.
Yeah, really excited about the draft class. You started the day with, picking a forward in Peter Benisevic, who we felt was a really, really offensive stick. We talked a lot in the draft room. The hardest thing to do is to score goals. So when you have skill, we didn't pick until the 3rd round today. So when there's skill like that sitting there, we felt like it was important to add that to our roster and our depth chart. And then the goalie Jack Utsunomiya. Again, a kid that we felt was we had him really high on our list, and we weren't sure if we'd get him, in the 5th round. So when he was sitting there, again, really excited. We got lucky with that one, we feel, and he's going to be a really good player for us too down the road. Jack's done a lot of winning in his time this year at Delta. Feels like he played in almost every big game. That he could have in a lot of the tournaments. So, he's done a lot of winning, and he showed up when those games mattered. So we felt like that would go a long ways for us, and it fits with the tradition here in Penticton.
You used a lot of your draft picks today, especially in the back half of the draft. We talked earlier this week about the value you saw later in the draft with this 2010 group. Did you like what you see at the back half? Did you find maybe some gems, hopefully, in the later as the day went on? Yeah,
we took a lot of defensemen today. We talked about getting a really good goalie, and but there's a lot of really good defensemen, and you got to build from the back out. It's really important that you have the right type of defenseman. So we feel like we increase the odds of building a strong back end for ourselves down the road. And I think there's a lot of value in our draft. You got some good players, especially in and around that 7, 8, 9 mark, where we didn't think they'd be sitting there. So when they were, we made a trade to add a couple more picks in the 7th and 8th round, and feel like we added some good value to the organization.
You just talked about a goalie that might have been a nice value pick at 5. Is there a guy or two that you really thought, wow, we got a good value here as the day went on?
A kid like Owen Conrad out of Manitoba, he really slipped in the draft, for whatever reason, is what it is. But, we had him ranked really high on our list, and, it was just one of those things where when we saw him sitting there, we knew we had to make it work some way, somehow. So, he's a kid that's at top 40 camp right now in Manitoba, and is going to be a really good player down the road. We'll see what his development's like, but he's got a lot of upside. So, he's one of, a few guys that we feel, we got lucky with getting a little bit later, and, it could be really good players for us.
And last night was exciting. Let's just circle back to the first round, first chance for you and I to talk about it. You get a great pick at number 4, and Thor Lifton from Calgary, a blue liner that seems, like you mentioned to me, a guy that has continued to develop as the year went on. Why should fans be excited about Thor?
Yeah, I mean, this 14-year-old kid who not long ago was 5'6" and is now all of a sudden now 6'1", 6'2", late birthday. He's a December birthday, technically a 2011 almost, right? He's got size 14 feet. Like, he's continuously growing. I just felt like when you watch his timeline and development throughout the year, you go back to September, October, November, it was a good player, and then in the second half, he just kept getting better and better and better. So now you project for a couple more years from now, like where can he be? And we just felt like his, the base of tools that he has was just too good to pass up. At 4, I truly feel like he's got a lot of pro upside. He's going to play the game for a long time, and I think he's going to do a lot of really good things here in Penticton.
And lastly, Adam, as a scouting group, you lead this group. You guys just wrapped up in the boardroom today here at the rink. As you look back at the board and the depth, what do you guys think about your first draft class? Really happy, and I'm a believer. Like as we get to know each other more, Fraser, you're gonna realize I love to learn and grow, and I think today was a great opportunity to learn and grow. Like there was, it's the first one, and hopefully the first of many. And as a group, I think I took a lot out of the draft today. When you think you don't, and so. Patience, and then on the other side of it too, when you see something that you like, go get it. That's the most important thing too. So, a lot of good lessons today that we'll reflect. We'll do a debrief as a staff early next week to talk about it, and we'll find areas that we can get better at, and we'll apply that over our next process here in the next 12 months leading into the next draft. Well, Adam, congrats on this historic draft class. Thanks for doing this. Thank you. There's Adam Sergerie, Director of Scouting, as the Vees now have their first ever draft class after draft week here in Penticton.